Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Owen Bly, and I'm Associate Dean of Admission at Providence College, and we're pleased to bring you the perspectives of several parents and guardians of current PC students. We hope this session provides the information that you will need to learn more about the community and the environment that your student will be joining this fall. Before we begin, I'd like to provide a little bit of housekeeping. Following the initial presentation that will include introductions as well as remarks by our panelists and parents, we're pleased to host a question and answer session. I'll provide more information on that once we return, but for now, I'm pleased to turn things over to our hosts for the evening, Adam and Meg Benjamin.
Good evening, everybody. This is Adam Benjamin. I'm here with my wife, Meg.
Hi, Meg Benjamin.
We're very pleased to be on a Zoom with so many of you, and one that is not either a Zumba class or one that is not a virtual happy hour. All those are nice sometimes, but we do hope that your families, your friends, our students are all happy and healthy and doing well, and we're looking forward to hosting tonight with some great families here. So we're going to go around the room here, the virtual room, introduce ourselves and our children and the Providence students that we have, and give a few anecdotes, and then open it up for questions. So I'm going to hand it over to my wife for a second, and then I'll jump back in.
Hi. So as Adam said, I'm Meg. This is Adam Benjamin. Our son Aiden is a freshman currently at Providence College. His major is management with a minor in music. And he's very active in the music and theater department. He was part of the fall show, Something Rotten. He loved that. And he loves attending soccer games, basketball games, hockey games. So far he's had a great freshman year. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, so a few things we're going to, as we go around here, we're going to answer just a couple of very quick anecdotes in terms of why we felt the school was the right school for our children, but also we've asked our own kids to identify 3 things that they really love or like about the school and 3 challenges that they had going back to freshman year, if we have some upperclassmen here. One thing that we should also state is that we're in New York. We are in Westchester County, White Plains, and we do have some representation on the phone from out of the United States as well as on the West Coast and New England. So we'll go through a couple of the bullet points here. So our story for Aiden with regards to how he ended up at Providence, to be really candid, we went and we did the 10-12 school tour, had some great tours, wonderful schools and universities that he looked at. And it really came down to 3 schools. And ultimately on the admitted students day for Providence College, it rained the entire way going up to Providence for us. And Meg and I looked at each other while we were driving and we said, yeah, this is not going to work out today. It's not a good day. As soon as we got to campus, it was like, somebody clicked a switch and the sun came out, a rainbow was going over the school, no joke. And students were outside in their shorts and having a good time. And it was like, just, you could feel the energy. So we had some great conversations, at least Aiden had some great conversations with the music and theater department and a handful of teachers, as well as a lot of students. And ultimately, you just felt that the environment was a very caring, nurturing environment. And we, for the first time, saw our son, who used to walk around the campuses kind of with his shoulders up and his head down, not entirely sure what he was doing, finally put his shoulders down and his head up. And later on that night, he just, 11 o'clock at night, walked in while we were watching TV and he said, I made my decision, it's Providence. And he said, I felt a vibe at the school today that I hadn't felt at any other school. So that was great. The 3 things that we asked him at dinner last night, give us your 3 likes and your 3 challenges. And he said his first one, without question, he loves the music and theater department up at PC. For those of you, maybe you have some students at PC already or have heard about it, but they have put on some incredible performances, very professionally done. And it's just different. No disrespect to high school level performances, but this is a whole nother level. And the second thing he said was, obviously the friends. It's a diverse group of individuals that he became friends with from all over the United States as well as out of the US. And he just made great friends. It's a great community pretty quickly. And, last night he was on Zoom with these guys from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. And maybe they should have been doing homework or something, but they were having a great time, and you could hear them in the basement. The third thing that he brought up was the teachers, and again, that caring and nurturing component. We asked him, like, really, do the teachers know you? And he said, without question, they know us. And especially now, while they're home and they're doing this virtual learning, you can actually see how small some of these classes are and how intimate they are with regards to the video conferencing that's going on. 3 quick challenges quickly. Number 1, 18-year-old boy, he said the biggest challenge was getting used to sharing a bathroom and taking showers with other people. So sounds kind of, trivial and something you might laugh at, but I think we've all been there at one time or another. And, he said it took about 2 weeks to get used to that. And now it's second nature. The second one was sharing a room with 2 other individuals. He's in a dorm called Guzman, and he has a triple. Loves his roommates, but it took him a little while to figure out boundaries and how they each operated. So one liked to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning, and the other liked to go to bed by 11, 12 o'clock at night. So, just understanding how that worked. And then the third thing that he brought up, which I think is really interesting, is his time management for the first 4 to 6 weeks was really difficult. And he said he felt like coming out of high school, he knew every minute of every day where he was supposed to be and what he was supposed to be doing. And when you get to college, obviously, you've got weekends, you've got these open blocks of time. So he said it took him a little while until he got fully active in the clubs and the departments and the homework to kind of get that under control. But it's natural. So I'm going to pass this over to, I'll go to Stacy first, and then we can go around and continue from there.
Okay, great. I'm Stacy Deem, and I live in southeastern Massachusetts in Franklin. My son, Patrick, is a sophomore currently at Providence. He is a marketing major. He's on the golf team, and he is also determined to play every, and I mean there are loads, of intramural sport before he graduates. One of the things you have to know about PC, so we're a big sports family. So, PC doesn't have the big football team, but boy, I'll tell you, those kids love their hockey and their basketball, which is great, but they also love their intramural sports. And so far, now he is only a sophomore. He has played intramural. He also plays club golf, mind you. He's played basketball, hockey, softball, kickball, ping pong, water polo, and badminton. And his goal is to make sure he does not graduate without playing every single solitary intramural sport that they have at PC. So for our family, we did similar to Meg and Adam. We did a big campus route. My daughter's a softball player, so it takes us all over the East Coast anyway. And we were everywhere from West Virginia to Penn State to Villanova, all different types and sizes and makeups of school, private, public, Catholic, you name it, we went there. And he had a good feeling about several of the schools. And then we went to PC, and he really liked PC. But that was, he and his mom and dad and an orientation leader. And then 2 of his friends actually loved it so much that they went early decision, and they asked him to come with them to go down to campus one day. And he walked around campus with them and went to a hockey game and came home and said, Mom and Dad, Providence has an early decision too. I have to do it. This is where I belong. It feels like home. And inside, I was already rooting for Providence, hoping that's where he would land, and he did. So that was great because I knew, as his mom, that was like the right place for him too. One of the things that you'll notice as a parent when you're able to be live with professors and the Dominicans and Coach Cooley and everyone else is the level of friendly and caring people everywhere that you turn. So going back to freshman year, and 3 things that he really, really liked. Number 1, he loved Slavin in the winter. He said that's one of the buildings at PC. It's actually a very central building at PC. A lot goes on there. But he loves it in the winter and said it was like a really homey feeling place during the winter to study, where it could be quiet or you could actually hook up with other people as well. The second thing he really liked is they celebrate the holidays at PC. So at a lot of public, or state colleges, they don't do that. There's not like a big Christmas celebration. He loved being at PC around Christmas because he said it felt like Christmas there, which I thought was great, especially because it's also finals time. So I think that actually helps the kids quite a bit. And then third is the business school. He said if I were talking to parents, the one thing he'd hope that I would tell parents of incoming freshmen or prospective students is first of all, it's no joke. It is a very academically rigorous school, but for the business school, and I'm sure every other part of PC, there's always extra help available. The advisors are terrific. Upperclassmen help the younger kids. It's really something. And then from a challenging perspective, like what were his 3 biggest challenges last year? For him, well, first of all, gourmet cook as a mom, but the food was tough to get used to. Providence doesn't have the greatest reputation for food, I will tell you, but they've really done a lot of work this year. As a parent of a sophomore, I can tell you, even in the last 6 months, they've done a lot. So on the parent complaint level, I've seen it go way down too. Second is workload was a challenge the first year too. He went to a pretty rigorous high school, but it's academically demanding at PC and they help each other through it. But you need to know it is a rigorous school. And then number 3 was sleep. He said, you're up a lot later doing work than you're used to, and you still need that time afterwards, downtime, to relax and hang out with your friends, take a shower and that type of thing. So he said, like at home, I'd always be in bed by 10 o'clock, but I never was in bed at 10 o'clock at PC. So that's kind of our perspective from our family. I'm going to turn it over to the D'Ambrosias now to talk about their student.
Hi, am I going first, Andy?
Sure.
Yeah. So Andy and I are sitting in separate places. So I'll talk first and then I'll hand over to Andy. But hi, I'm Helen D'Ambrosio. And Andy's my husband. Sebastian is our son. He is a junior. He's just finishing up his junior year, getting ready to go into senior year. Again, has had a fantastic experience at Providence. I think we came to it, again, we did a lot of different trips, which was great because I got to see a lot of the country. So for those that you don't know, we're on the West Coast, we're over in California. So we got to explore East Coast, West Coast, a little bit on the Southeast. So we saw a large number of different schools, larger ones, smaller ones. And we did keep coming back to Providence. I think actually we actually visited Providence, I think 3 different times, sort of in our very first initial sweep through. And then we sort of were narrowing it down a little bit and did another come through. And then I think it was on the 3rd trip, Andy was with Sebastian on that trip. And as they said, they'd kind of been through a few different schools, came to Providence, walked onto the campus, and Sebastian said he just got that warm feeling of being very welcomed. Everybody would say hi, everybody's talking to him, even though they don't know who he is. It was sort of it was a really lovely experience for him. And I think some of the people that we heard talk, I'm trying to think what must have been one of the weekends when they were sort of showing a lot of people around the school. We got to talk to the Dean of Admissions, who I can't remember his name, but he did a wonderful discussion on sort of the actual process of getting into the school. And also with Coach Cooley, we got to see him speak. And again, just a very warm feeling, again, very friendly. Sebastian, he's very active in school. It was making me laugh when I was hearing about all the intramurals. Sebastian also is a big fan of the intramural sports and loves doing those. He's done the water polo, I can't remember, the football, the soccer, I think what are some of the others? The volleyball was another one he's mentioned. There's so many different ones. Loves taking part in those. And he's also, one of the big selling points for him was he wanted a school where he could play rugby. So he's on the rugby team at Providence, loves playing rugby, and they're doing very well. I think he's actually the president of the rugby club this year. He just got voted for that, so that was exciting.
And also, Helen, I promised Sebastian that I would show the shirt.
Oh, there you go. Providence College men's rugby.
Anybody and I also told him that recruit that all your sons should be trying out for the rugby team in the fall. Or maybe I said I wouldn't wear the shirt.
Yeah, and then the other one that he's very involved with is the peer ministry, and has made a wonderful group of friends with peer ministry. Really enjoys taking part in that, and has been doing that. Has he done that for all 3 years, Andy? Yeah. But what was the retreat he went to in the autumn where he really met a bunch of wonderful friends?
The connections, the freshman year connections.
That was it, the freshman's connection retreat. Because I think one of the things Sebastian struggled with is when he first got there was sort of where he fit in, because so many of the students were sort of around the area. So he was wasn't quite sure where to fit in and sort of had to meet new friends, and did the connections retreat and really met a wonderful group of friends there that he stayed very close with all the way through his past, through the 3 years. So, but I'm sure you've got more to add, Andy.
Thanks, Helen. So hi, Andy D'Ambrosio. We're social distancing tonight. So starting from the back, the only other negative thing or challenge that Sebastian had as a freshman, besides, not being a New Englander, not knowing all the high schools where everybody came from, and not having those instant friendships, was the long weekends. He just couldn't go home on the long weekends, because trying to get back to Los Angeles when you have, a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it just wasn't practical. So it was a little hard on him freshman year. I should say first semester freshman year. Because by the time after Christmas came, his roommates, his friends from the clubs and everything else adopted him. And in fact, he doesn't come home for Thanksgiving now. He has to come home for spring break. And so that was one of the challenges that he overcame way too well.
Yes, I wasn't so thrilled. Yes.
Yeah. So some of the things that he loves about PC in particular is the athletics at all levels. Intramurals, you've heard everyone talk about that one. And one of the big trophies that the students have is if they win the championship in a sport, they get a T-shirt. And so that is bragging rights to the extreme at school. And so the kids are just desperate to win these shirts. And it's heartbreaking. Sebastian had one night where he's in 2 finals this year, and he lost both games, both in 2 sports. So he's desperate to get that championship.
Next year.
Yeah, as Helen said, he's playing intramural rugby. He's having a blast at that. And then between hockey and basketball, you couldn't ask for 2 better sports at a college. And so the athletics there, from intramurals all the way to the NCAA, is just amazing. The other thing that he really loves is the campus ministry with the Dominican flavor. He went to an all boys Jesuit school here in Los Angeles, Loyola High School, and so going to the Dominican college was different. It's a very different charism, and frankly, it's really changed his life. As Helen mentioned, at Connections, that's where he found his faith. That's where he took ownership of his faith. It was no longer our faith; it was his, and it just continued to build to the point where going in. So Sebastian's a quantitative economics major. His career choices changed from being a management consultant type guy to he wants to be a teacher. He applied for a fellowship, and it's completely changed his life. The Dominicans, the friars have. So that's the second thing he loves. And the third thing, much to our chagrin, is he loves the seasons. He loves walking around in his chubbies in the snowstorm and telling everybody he's a Californian, but he in the weather. And so if there's any West Coasters out there or Southerners, your kids will love the weather. Having 4 seasons is something nice. So
yeah. I think one other thing just to bring in, so kind of talking about us being on the West Coast, is how wonderful Providence has been about sort of outreach and sort of making sure that we feel part of the community back there at the school. You know, Andy and I have both been fortunate that we've been able to sort of be involved with sort of the parent council there, and I think the faculty do a really fantastic job of really making sure that we feel part of everything that's going on there, even though we're sort of geographically distant.
So with that, we'll turn it over to you, Peter, for yet another perspective.
Hi, good evening. I hope everybody is doing fine and are safe at home. My name is Peter Acosta, and I actually had 2 kids through Providence College. Andrea, which graduated in 2018, majored in accountancy and a minor in finance, and now she's in the business school and should receive her MBA this May. It's going to be a little bit delayed, but we should get through that. And then I have Angelica, which is, she'll be class 2022. She's a sophomore now. She's studying psychology. She's on the cheerleading squad. So she's lucky she gets to go to all the games for free. And I'm like, so we love PC. I'll tell you why we went to PC. Being a little bit selfish, speaking on the parents' point of view, we love the faith of PC. There's so much. Once you step on campus, it's another thing. There's a sense of family. There's a lot of peace, sense of well-being, and it's just a special place when you get there. There's a lot of school pride. Once you're a friar forever. Mm-hmm. And you'll be surprised. You could be way. I don't know. I forgot to mention I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico, so I'm 1,700 miles away from my kids, which is just a bit. Mm-hmm. But you're anywhere you go. You could be at a bar, you could be at a restaurant, you could be at a meeting, and Providence comes up and they jump at you. You're a friar, and yes, I am. So it's a huge family, and once you're part of that family, I mean, you'll see what I'm talking about. For my kids, obviously, we live in an island, easy to get around, and going over to, although we're a Commonwealth, and there's a little bit of cultural difference once you go stateside. The transition was great due to the faculty, just the students that go there, the quality of human beings and people that actually care. They made my kids feel at home. They made me feel at home. Just everybody. The friars are amazing. I mean, I urge you to go there and meet one, because they're vast knowledge, and they're amicable, and they're approachable, and it's extremely smart conversation. One thing that I do want to point out here, and particularly with my first daughter graduated, Father Shanley spoke about, as he's doing the graduation mass, he said, I hope that we've prepared you well. And he paused for a second. And as he paused, I was thinking to myself, I hope you did too, because, they need to go get a job. And soon after, he starts off and he says, I hope we did well to send you to heaven. And once he said that, I just went, wow, this was the place. And thank God that my daughter ended up there, because they prepared her for life. They didn't prepare her for just a job or one thing. They prepared her to be a complete human being, care for other people, to love other people. no matter, race, belief, or creed, you're gonna find out that your kids are gonna come out well-rounded, smart, extremely well prepared, because heads up, it's not a very easy university. You're gonna have to tough it out. And as a parent, you're gonna be, happy as a clam, and your kids are gonna be very, they're gonna be happier than you, actually. But that's pretty much it. About what they do like, they love the Division I athletics. It's a small school, but they compete hard with anybody. Actually, I was lucky enough to be part of the national championship for the hockey team. I love hockey, even though we have no snow or anything in Puerto Rico, but I love hockey. So I was lucky enough to go through that. Every time I go to Providence, I don't miss a game. I try to get as many as I can. Obviously, since Angelica was in the cheerleading team, so I got to go to some basketball games, which is another amazing experience. And those are the things that we like. The location is awesome. Great food. Providence is very close from downtown Providence, and you can go there and hang out, and like I said, great food and stuff like that. And the academics, I knew that they were even my kids enjoyed that they will be well prepared when they get there. What they don't like was the culture shock, obviously coming from the island. That was kind of different, but that had nothing to do with Providence. It had to do with them and their adaptation of it. They didn't like Civ, which is one of the most difficult courses, and it's a core curriculum of Providence College. And I lost myself here, but I don't know. And that's probably about it. And homesick, but that's that. Anyways, I think I pretty much covered it all. Guys, thank you for your time. And
that's great. Thanks, Peter. So we're going to just pass it over to Owen. He's going to answer a few things quickly, and then we'll start to answer some of the questions that are coming in here.
Great. Yes. Thank you to all of our family members for your comments and your perspective. As was mentioned, in just a few moments, we'll transition to the question and answer portion of the evening. And on the bottom of your window, you'll see a Q&A icon where you're able to submit any questions that you may have. As a reminder, the panel is entirely made up of parents and guardians of current Providence students, and questions should be focused with that in mind. We're not going to entirely avoid any topics, but questions that would be better answered by administration or staff at the college are likely covered in the recording of College President Father Shanley's session that was held last week, or the list of frequently asked questions that we've provided. Both of these are available on the webpage we emailed everyone about yesterday, and the link to which is available in the chat right now. We did receive a number of relevant questions in advance via email, and those will be included and presented this evening, but several were asking particularly about the decision to transition the advising and registration portion of orientation to a virtual format, and whether students may lose the ability to make connections with their classmates. We're trying to not inundate you with information, and we'll certainly share more details after May 1st, but we can share that the dates in June that have been shifted virtually will almost entirely be about your students getting to know their peers. Students are going to be broken up into groups of about 30 or so with 3 orientation leaders, and they will facilitate discussions, icebreakers, and more during that afternoon that they're scheduled. They're going to be upbeat and fun sessions, and we'll address some of the things additionally that we know they're looking for from previous years. Basics on academics, how to get involved, making connections with their classmates. Additionally, those orientation groups that they're put into, the OLs are going to stay in touch with them throughout the entire summer to kind of keep building that connection. There will then be a separate date in July that's about connecting with their faculty advisors to talk more in depth about their major, curriculum, planning for the next 4 years, and how to adjust their schedules for the fall if need be. I'll add, however, that almost all students are going to be pre-registered for their courses, so they'll probably just be making minor adjustments at that time. We recognize that the format is going to be different, but can assure you that through it all, students will begin adjusting and becoming a part of the PC community prior to their studies beginning in the fall. Before we launch into the submitted questions, and certainly feel free to keep sending them through, would any of the current parents like to share just a little bit about how your students have remained connected to the community in the past several weeks since they've been at home?
Why don't we, Helen, do you want to start with that one?
Okay, I can see. So as I was saying earlier, Sebastian is, he's doing his online classes, so he's kind of catching up with a lot of his classmates then, which I will tell you starts a little bit early here on the West Coast. Some of his early classes are at 7 a.m., so it's definitely keeping him up at a decent hour in the morning, which is nice. But doing, again, a lot of Zoom meetings with friends, a lot of Zoom meetings with his different groups that he's involved with. And teachers have certainly been in touch on a regular basis, and he's kind of staying in touch with. I've been very pleased with how everything sort of worked out during sort of the unusual circumstances we find ourselves in. I think PC have done a really great job of keeping everybody sort of updated with what's going on, and sort of letting us know the changes that are happening as they're going on. So I think that's been handled really well. Yeah.
Stacy, anything you want to throw in there as well?
I mean, very similar Zoom meetings. One of the things that some of the prospective parents might get a kick out of is, and this is how connected they stay, groups of his friends that have similar classes, they've done like theme dressing for their Zoom meetings. So like, the first Zoom meeting, they all showed up in Hawaiian shirts or something like that, just to keep it light. Mm-hmm. So I love that about them. And when I have asked him if he's been in a selected quad 2 years in a row. So they actually picked to be in a quad. But I said, hey, I've been talking to the guys, at least once a week. He said, Mom, we talk every single day. Last week, one night, the golf team had a sort of like a happy hour through Zoom, and the coach joined in just to check on the boys and see how everyone was doing. And so very similar. This is, if your child chooses Providence College, they just show, like, this is like what I'm sort of a sap, so sorry, but they are truly choosing to adopt this much larger family that they will be with for the rest of their life. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to throw in there, obviously you have the classes, you have everything's through the video conferencing or text messaging. I mean, they're all constantly in contact. Mm-hmm. If you have an interest to kind of get a feel for some of the extracurricular things that the school is still continuing to do virtually, you can look at all of the social media profiles that they have out there, whether it be on Instagram or Facebook, probably the two most appropriate for the parents to look at. And then the kids can see some stuff on Snapchat. But just to throw out a few, if you go to the main providence.edu website, you're of course going to find the primary profiles. But if you do a couple of searches specifically on Instagram for Providence College, you're going to see a slew of other ones. BOP, Board of Programmers. You have an alumni group. You have like hockey and basketball. Like, there's different profiles for each one. And it's amazing how they're still continuing to talk to the community each and every day. Maybe not just once a day, but multiple times a day. So they do virtual bingo on certain nights, which is a huge thing on campus in Sleben Center that was brought up earlier, kind of like the central hall. So if you really just want to get a feel of the energy, check out some of the social media profiles, and you'll see a lot there. There is also one out there that is an Instagram profile for the primary food hall on campus called Raymond, or Ray Dining Hall. So as Stacy mentioned before, there were some issues with some of the quality of the food and the consistency, I guess, a number of months ago. And the school has completely course corrected on that. And it's fantastic. And again, our son Aiden is a freshman. We cook a lot at home. He is very particular on what he eats. The first couple of months, not so good. He has said it has been almost a full 180. So you can even take a look at some of the stuff that they're pushing out, because their profile, it's fun, it's different. And I think it's geared to us being the parents, wondering how our kids are eating when they're at school. So, all right. So we have a handful of questions. I'll just randomly toss these out to the panelists. Let's start with one question here. How did your child find a roommate? My daughter feels like everyone has already paired up on the PC 2024 Facebook page. So I don't know, Stacy, you want to take that one to start?
Sure. I think, first of all, I would just say fear not, because definitely they have not all paired up. People, I'm sure a lot of people have, but I don't know. I know that Patrick knows a couple of girls actually locally that went to PC that didn't go in with roommates, that were really nervous about that. And they actually did, I think, like a random selection, and they're like best friends by sophomore year and hanging out. And they hang out in these larger groups too. So like once they're together and once they're in school, they definitely end up befriending each other, even in classes. So someone that, you know, because my first impulse is to tell you that once they're on a floor, if it's one of the girls' dorms, the floor ends up being like a mini sorority. And I can tell you for last year for my son, which I just thought it was great, because these are built-in friends, people he never knew, but his floor, he lived in McDermott Hall last year, and his floor, they don't all live in the same place this year, but they're still all really tight. So regardless of who they end up with, even if it's a random person, one thing to know is that the actual floor of the dorms almost seem like their own little group once they get there. Would the other parents agree with that?
Yeah, I was going to say, because Sebastian, when we signed up, he just did the random selection, and it was almost like a little bit of a dating service. You kind of have all these questions that you have to fill in, and they sort of pair you with somebody that seems like it would be a good fit for whatever however you are, whether you're messy in your room or you're kind of like you're a late sleeper, early sleeper. So those were all taken into consideration. And so Sebastian's roommate, it worked out perfectly. They got on really well. So he was just in a two-man room. Really good roommate. They got on very well. It worked out perfectly. But I think what you were saying about the whole room, the whole floor is like everybody goes and hangs out. I mean, every time I went to visit, like all the doors seem to be open and everybody's in and out of everybody else's room. And it's definitely more of a, sort of kind of a very easygoing there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Aiden also went random. He knew a few kids also attending Providence, but he wanted to go random and, see who he ended up with. And he gets along great with his roommates. He's made a lot of great friends on his floor. So I wouldn't worry if, your daughter doesn't have a roommate going in right now. Have her fill out the questionnaire and she'll find someone. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Peter, I'm going to throw this one to you, and it's kind of a two-part question, actually. How satisfied have we all been, or have you been, with the communication from PC related to the COVID-19 crisis and the college's response? But kind of along the same line a little bit also, and I know you brought this up, how do you feel about the overall security on campus and security within Providence as a city themselves? I know you brought that up earlier to us.
Yeah, I'm very much satisfied with the COVID-19 response. We've been kept up to date constantly, and I think they even anticipated some moves with the kids and stuff. They've tried to make it as comfortable as possible for the students and the parents. So yes, I'm very, very happy with that. As far as Providence College and the city of Providence, I have 2 daughters, and I am extremely, how can I say, it's not jealous, but possessive with their security. I mean, I've always been like that. I guess it's kind of my flaw. But Providence College, to me, it's super secure. It's a small place, and the security is very tight. Not only that, Providence has a great relationship with the city. So anything that happens there, I mean, the police is there in a heartbeat. I've been going to Providence since, what was it, 2014, right? Yeah, 2014. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, and I have one in, here's my sidekick. So that's my youngest, Angelica. Since 2014, so I've been there a lot of times. Obviously, it's either my wife is misses my child, or my child misses us, so we're traveling back and forth constantly. It's super safe. We've been all over the place. So I would say that, yes, it's really safe. Feel free, feel confident that you're sending your kid to. Let me put it this way: Providence, it's a small city with a big city type amenities also. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, dining is extremely
fabulous.
It's awesome, and it's pretty inexpensive compared to other places. So, I mean, you're gonna get bang for your buck when you go there to eat. But yeah, awesome place, totally safe.
Andy, do you have any favorite places or go-tos when you guys come in from LA?
Well, I'll defer to Helen with that question. I heard Sebastian have a couple favorite restaurants over on Federal Hill.
Yeah, we have a bunch of restaurants. Yeah, so Sebastian and I, whenever I go over to visit, that's our plan. We're sort of like, okay, where are we eating on Friday? Where are we going for brunch on Saturday? And then where we're going for dinner on Saturday evening, and then brunch on Sunday morning before I head home. So, but yeah, the food scene is fabulous. I've been, really amazing restaurants there. But my actual favorite one actually closed, which I was really sad about. So I know, I don't know. It was called something Cup and Saucer, which I used to love to go to, but yeah, I think we always have to go to, there's the one Italian place we always have to go to on Federal Hill whenever we're back there. But yeah, lots of really fabulous restaurants downtown that I love going to.
And one thing for parents who have these questions, because again, Meg and I, Aiden's our first child in college, or that has gone to college, and there were a handful of questions that we just didn't have answers to, such as, do we set up a bank account for him up in Providence? Does he, use credit cards up there? What happens when they go out? And it's remarkable. They all figure it out. So he has his own bank account here in New York. He has his bank card. He has a credit card as emergency use. The kids use Venmo for everything. So if you haven't heard of Venmo, just look into it. I'm sure everybody knows what it is these days. But they'll go out for dinner, and one person pays, and they all Venmo each other back like within seconds. If they go over to Federal Hill or downtown, they're in Ubers. I mean, the kids really take care of themselves. The other thing that's amazing.
Or they can take the bus. They can take the bus anywhere in Rhode Island, right?
Exactly. So the public bus system comes to the Huxley Gate, which is the main gate when you come into PC. And again, there was a question in here about Logan Airport. Whether you're going to Logan or you're going to TF Green or you're going to Amtrak, you can take a bus pretty much to get you to those places, and it's all the local public buses are all free, and then obviously you have to pay for your Amtrak and your flights and all. But super easy. Convenient. I think Aiden got the public bus to Amtrak down to a science, and it was door to door from Guzman to the terminal in 11 minutes. So for those 6:30 a.m. trains that he was catching, which is kind of remarkable that he actually made it. He made it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a few more questions here. We've got a lot. How well do you feel PC does in terms of internships and preparing your child for a job when they graduate? I don't know. Okay, so Peter, you got a thumbs up. What would you say?
Oh, yeah. Andrea, which is studying accountancy, they got her internship in junior year, and by the time that I would say by March of the year she graduated, she already had a job. So they do. Our experience has been very, very, very good. Which is something that I felt kind of like when they were recruiting Andrea and they talk about the alumni network and all that stuff. Yeah, I thought, well, maybe I'm not that lucky, or maybe she's not that lucky. But evidently, their alumni network is very strong, and they help out a lot. So I mean, our experience was great with that.
Does anybody else have any input on that? Okay, so one thing that I'll say is, again, this is Adam. My company actually just hired 2 graduating seniors as interns. We needed some help. They can work virtually, remotely from their respective homes. And I have to tell you, they hit the ground running. And within a week, my personal partners, business partners, couldn't believe how much work they had done. So I don't remember who brought it up, but they are just well-rounded, well-educated, and they're doers. So I think that's an important thing. If you do go to the PC website, I do believe in the various schools. You can look at some of the companies that have hired Providence graduates, and you do have a lot of local companies like CVS and Hasbro, and a lot of the financial firms up in Boston and New York. So there's they do a really good job there. Let's see. What are your feelings on the incoming president, Father Sicard? We loved hearing Father Shanley speak during early admitted students weekend. Stacy, you want to grab that one?
Sure. I mean, I feel really good about it. I mean, so everybody, I mean, Father Shanley's, so we came in with Father Shanley too. I think really all of us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of fall in love with Father Shanley for sure. But I think Father Sicard is going to be great. Like his any initial communications that have come to him from him, I felt, well, this is going to be a really smooth transition, and the focus, which is always primarily on the students, is going to stay exactly as it's been. Of course, you're always going to have different styles with different people, and I think that's fine. But I've been impressed so far.
Okay, great. 2 questions I'm going to combine here. How would you rate the quality of the online learning delivery that your students are receiving thus far? And do any of your students have, how do you feel PC has handled moving classes online this term? We kind of just covered that a little bit, but I mean, I'll pass it to Meg here.
Well, Aiden actually has said he has a lot more work than he did when he was at campus. So they are keeping them busy for sure. He still has a lot of group projects that he's working on, so they have to organize that with the other kids, figure out meeting times, and getting work done together, even though they're in different locations. And it's been, the teachers have been great. He's had to reach out to a couple of teachers, and they've been easy to get in touch with, or they'll get back to him. So far it's been good. He's definitely a lot busier than I thought he would be, which is nice.
Meg, do you mind if I just jump in with one other thing? So I have another college-aged daughter who's a freshman at a state university, which we love, and it's great for her. But one of the differences that I have noticed, because in state universities, in large state universities, as a freshman, you have a lot of like 300 people, lectures, 400 people lectures and that type of thing. And I have completely noticed a difference between the interactivity of what PC has managed and did manage to turn around in a couple of days, basically, as they were coming off spring break and had to turn right to online learning, and what Caroline's getting at a large state university. Patrick is having a lot more interaction. Even though it's online, it's still face-to-face. So I feel like he's getting a lot more of that than Caroline is getting. She is, now thank God, she's a very independent worker and doesn't need as much of that interaction. So she's doing fine. But if that was Patrick, it would not be good for Patrick. So I've been very pleased with what PC's done. He's talked to his advisor a bunch of times. I think they've done a great job.
So I want to just loop back to the Father Sicard question as well, just, general feelings. So I've actually had the good fortune, Meg and I, to hear Father Sicard a few times speak and get to meet him. And he's really been Father Shanley's right-hand man for quite some time now. So I think the school is going to be in a phenomenal place for years to come under his guidance. And he's just again, we brought this up a few times, a very caring individual that seems to lead by that way. So I think we're going to see some great things there. There is a question here. What do your kids think of the food on campus? I know we kind of touched on this, but any recommendations on which meal plan we should pick, particularly if our son is a growing boy? Oh, well.
I don't think you don't really have a choice freshman year. I think, right? Freshmen are all full meal plan on campus.
Mm-hmm. And I'd highly recommend it for a growing boy. We had the same situation. So Sebastian could go and eat basically all the time, and that worked well for him.
Yeah.
And besides Raymond Cafeteria or Ray Cafeteria, where they have their primary meal plans, there is also some food services in Slavin, the student center, as well as in the business center. Again, smaller cafes, but the one up in Slavin's fairly big. It's, I believe, not on the main meal plan. It's a Friar Bucks or something that you use.
Well, no, there's some stuff that you can actually use your meal plan at alumni for. There's different types of things you can get, and you can use your swipes on not everything, but certain things in Slavin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, they want hamburgers, they got hamburgers, chicken fingers or salads. I keep saying this, Meg and I and Aiden's experience, when we were looking at all these different colleges, I mean, candidly, we were pretty much blown over by so many of them. Everyone has a beautiful rec department. Everyone has a nice cafeteria. Maybe there's a Starbucks. Maybe there's a Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe there's both. I mean, there's so much at these schools that it's really up to the students to find their way. And that's what is really important. The toughest thing for us, and I think Meg would probably say this about myself, is letting go and not checking in all the time and checking, did you eat? What did you have? And this and this and that.
So true.
It's easier said than done. And I still have a hard time because I love being a dad, but they're going to figure it out. They're not going to starve on campus. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, let's see what else we have here. This is a good one. Because we are unable to be on campus and are learning about PC virtually, how accurate is the perception that PC is a party school, especially given the rigor of the academics? Who wants to handle that one? Okay, Andy.
I got it. So I think we have the stereotypical kid that would be a party kid, a 21-year-old rugby player, and I'll tell you that the reputation is way overblown. I think I saw in one of the questions, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday parties, and that's not true. The academics are too much. The intramurals, there's so many things to engage them on campus to do it. It's not there. I mean, there are house parties on the weekend for them. The seniors host them over across the street on Eaton Street. There's room parties sometimes, but it is not the party school that everybody wants it to be. That, like I said, that's been our impression from everything that we've heard and seen.
Yeah, and I think, I think whenever I was always amazed with how many times I'd sort of call Sebastian in what I thought was late, sort of about 10 o'clock at night, and they're in the library working. And I think that's actually fairly typical. There'd be a group of them have gone to sort of study in the library, and that was very typical of his weekdays, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same at every university, because as you are exploring all these universities, and I'm sure all the parents out there know this, if you look hard enough, every school in America is a big party school, right? Seriously, every single one of them. So I think it really comes down to what your child does when they're there and the choices that they make. I think there's going to be that at every school in this country, a little bit. But I don't think it's the norm at PC. I think it's really a balanced, have fun, work hard type of place.
Win intramurals.
Yeah, win those intramurals.
And it's nice. The Board of Programmers provides activities for them to do on the weekends, so they don't all have to go look for a party or something to do. There are going to be events that they can find out about and sign up for and go to. And then they have some night, like there was a black and white ball that they had. I think it was like right before they came home for spring break. Yeah. And, it was nice. Like Aiden was going to come home, I think on Friday. And then he said, no, I want to stay for this black and white ball. And they were all so excited about it. They got dressed up. They went to Peterson, right? Is that in Peterson Rack?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
And it was great. It's all different years, from freshmen to seniors. And they all got dressed up and danced. And, it was really nice.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely send your boys with a blue blazer, a shirt, and a tie, and khakis.
Without question, I was just going to throw that out there, that it was one thing that we didn't think much about. And there's no question, blazer, khakis, and a tie, because there will be presentations regardless of what the major is, or even if they're undecided. There may be career fairs. They have multiple career fairs every year and throughout the year. And, Aiden walked into the first one in shorts and a t-shirt because he had no idea how dressed up it was. But he was a freshman, so he didn't know. But I would recommend, if you're talking to your child and they go into a career fair, just tell them to put a sport jacket on or dress appropriately. For both males and females. There's a question here about how would you describe diversity within the student body? Let me ask maybe Peter, do you have any thoughts on this? And then we can answer it as well.
Well, yeah, it's there is diversity there. I mean, we're from Puerto Rico, so we're considered Hispanic. But PC does actually, in my daughter's freshman year, they have like these like team building meetings where you meet everybody and and people talk about each other and stuff like that. So basically that year's class, say 2022, all that group of kids, which is maybe what 600 or 700 kids, they get to meet each other and speak about where they come from and what they do and whatnot. So I mean, I think that it's well balanced and that there is diversity. I've heard that from my daughter also. So.
And for Meg and I, we candidly live in a pretty diverse part of New York here, where Aiden went to high school was very diverse from a race standpoint. From a PC perspective, it's not just race, but it's also religion. It's obviously gender diversity, and there's there is a nice mix. The school itself, because this was something that was very important to us. We wanted to know what the school was doing to continue to increase the level of diversity across all those different areas. There is a department focused exclusively on this that is made up of not just faculty, but outside advisors as well. There is a head of diversity. There are student leaders that are part of this. And, one thing that was really interesting for us was during the, I can't remember the name of the weekend, but it's like when the basketball team launches, starts practicing again. So Midnight Madness, and it was homecoming
weekend,
and they did this great program at the convention hall down in downtown Providence, and filled it with PC families, and got brought in John Legend as well as another artist. But they had these dance teams come out from Providence College, and there had to have been a dozen different teams that right there in itself kind of demonstrated artistically that diversity of the student body. And it was one group called Homeland, and they did traditional African dances. You had an Irish step dance. You had obviously the cheerleaders and the dance teams. I mean, that part was phenomenal. It all was fantastic, but that part was just so important for us to see. So hopefully you all get the opportunity to experience something like that as well. Are any of the parents on the call here parents of undeclared students? And if so, how did you feel about the help that they were given to find a major? Okay, Peter.
My eldest was undeclared when she went in. Actually, Andrea was looking. She was looking at engineering. That was more or less, but she was undecided still. I think the PC did a great job by her second year, with the counseling and stuff like that. They got her on the road to where she wanted to be. So eventually she ended up in accountancy, and they gave her a whole bunch of options. I mean, they gave her and opportunities for her to choose her path. So I can say that our family is very, very happy and satisfied the way that they handled the situation.
Great. I'm going to combine a couple here. Basically just says, if my child isn't Catholic or is not a conservative Catholic, how will they fit in?
Fine.
Stacy?
Yeah, I'm going to say absolutely fine. So what I love about PC is that it is an unabashedly Catholic school, but what you do have to know is never do any of these kids, because I've actually asked the question because I'm interested in it. I don't think you'd ever have a student that would say they feel like the Catholic religion is like shoved down their throat. So even I can remember when Patrick was going in that parents of non-Catholic kids were afraid that Western Civ was like almost like a recruiting to be Catholic tool, this class that they're all afraid of because it's so much work, and it's not that at all. So the theories of Western civilization, which is the big scary class at PC, they really learn about all different cultures, and sometimes what they learn about is different depending on who the professor is. And my understanding is they've had everyone from a rabbi to a layperson to a Dominican teach that class. And they get all these different perspectives. So I would say that if your child is a strong practicing Catholic, there's plenty there for them to stay that way. Or if they're looking for what they are, there's plenty to help them along. But I don't think that they will ever feel that someone's forcing religion on them. That's just how I feel. My observation.
Yeah, I agree.
Agreed. And for those of you who haven't heard in any of the other video conferences you've been part of, for those that really do want to focus on faith and better understand what opportunities exist and the masses that are given, the 10 o'clock mass on Sundays, I think they call it the last chance mass, is without question the biggest mass on campus. And
Sebastian loves that.
completely populated. Filled up. The music is very contemporary, and the kids just seem to love it. And our son said that go to that mass. I guess whether you're Catholic or not, the week of finals, and you'll never see more students in the church than that week, because everyone's praying for a little help. So I'll pass this one to Meg here. Can you talk about the experience of moving your child into Providence, also from a student perspective?
Well, from a parent perspective, it was a piece of cake, actually, moving him in. We pulled right in. They told us where to park. And then I would say a group of 4 or 5 students came, helped us empty the car, and took everything. And Guzman doesn't have any elevators, so took everything up the stairs into Guzman and helped us get set up. It was really easy.
Yeah, I thought it was really organized and orderly. I mean, it's a couple of years since we did it, but I remember you kind of had your set time that you were supposed to arrive there, and you got there and there was parking, you unloaded and moved the car, and it just seemed very organized and not kind of crazy or anything.
And for the distant out-of-towners, Bed Bath & Beyond, we ordered everything online beforehand. We flew in, landed there, picked everything up there, and helped them move right in. So just because you don't live within driving distance, it's not that hard. It's actually probably easier because you can just order everything online, and they have a really good setup for that.
So there's been a handful of questions just about the dorms in general. One thing to absolutely look at, go to the websites, and you can do virtual tours of every single room, see what they look like. If you're already part of the Facebook parents page, there is a lot of information in there as well. So that's
Providence College Parents is what it's called. Right?
Sorry, Providence College Parents. Yeah, the Facebook Providence College Parents page. Tons of information in there. Just do a quick search for the dorm, and you'll find the string of conversation. But the website really has a lot on there, and good photographs, and also like a 360 view where you can drag your mouse back and forth and get a good feel for it. There's a question here: what should my son take with him to the dorm? I guess it really depends on your son. I mean, truthfully, probably maybe everybody could answer one thing here that was very helpful, because we were given advice from a friend of ours to go to Ikea or buy them online.
Those big bags.
They're like big Ikea duffel bags, and we put 2 bags in our car of clothes, and it's incredible how much you can fit in there. And I think you can, it's Ikea, so you can get that for $4.99 and a dozen meatballs, and you're happy. It's like a full thing right there. Right. But really easy. Oh yeah. So Stacey has one. Go figure.
They're called the Fracta bags.
Right.
I Googled IKEA bag on Amazon, and a bunch of options came up. And the one we have is this huge one, and it even has a zipper. And it was great. But my suggestion for the dorms are flip-flops for the shower is a must.
Febreze
is a
specifically
good
for the boys.
I would say get yourself a good gel 3-inch mattress topper.
Oh yes.
Yep.
Extra shower shoes.
Yeah, the shower shoes are big, and I think just containers for storing stuff, particularly under the beds. Those come in so handy. Just being able to kind of shove stuff under the bed out of the way.
You'll be surprised how much storage the rooms actually do have. Our son is in Guzman, and above the 3 closets, and the closets are huge, there's like these massive cubbies, which is a little scary because you could probably lose stuff up there and not find it till the end of the semester. But besides that, you have under the bed, and again, these kids figure it out. The girls' rooms are, in many cases, nicer and more organized from what we've seen, but maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, can I, do you mind, Adam, if
Sure.
I just say real quick? So to those parents, it's Stacy speaking right now. And I'm one of the admins on the Facebook page, which is the PC parents page. So we don't admit people until their children have, well, we say matriculating students, but actually the other admin and I are pretty lenient once your kid has committed to PC and you know they're coming. Please do come. A lot of the questions that you have, particularly around what to bring, what rooms look like and all that, other parents are happy to answer all of those questions as once you've made your decision and committed. And then the other thing is that I just want you to know through that page that you have a ton of parents that all live within an hour of PC and are happy to sign up. For those of you that are far away, you don't have to be in Puerto Rico or on the West Coast. I mean, but if you're like in Jersey and you can't get to your child and your child needs something, you'd have pretty much every parent that lives in Massachusetts and Rhode Island volunteer to help your child. So I don't know that you would find that at every school, but you're going to find that at Providence.
So thank you, Stacy. A couple of additional ones here. Just one comment. I think you're all getting some of these notes being pushed out to you as well, but definitely take a look at the link that was just sent out by Kristen. It's virtual-visit-week.providence.edu. Again, that's where all of the, some of the dorm videos, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, I actually spent a lot of time on this myself. You actually hear from students, and as great as it is to hear from some of the faculty, I like to hear what the students have to say, and some of the videos are great. And then also to see some of the work that they've done. So give yourself an hour one night with your child or children and go through some of this. It's well worth it and really well done. How would your child's experience differed if their first semester was remote?
Good question.
Peter, you want to take this one? Peter, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I am on mute. Apologize for that. That's a tough one. I couldn't say. I couldn't say how, but I would imagine it would be. I don't know, Angelica. How would you feel?
Yeah.
You would have orientation.
Oh, you missed orientation, right? Which is, yeah, I'm cheating. Sorry, guys.
I think it would be, different in a sense that you won't have orientation, so you won't have that connecting with people that it's really important when you come in. I think orientation is the best way to branch out, and if you have a remote learning experience, like you won't be able to branch out. Maybe you're shy in a sense of just talking to a stranger because that's what it would be. But I think, I don't know, it is a tough question. I think it would change a lot because PC does a great job in those first weeks, like getting to know everybody and like, coming together and
Team building.
Yeah, and online classes would not, I don't know how they would do that, but it wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting, look, we're all in this together. We all know that. And I think there will be a lot of pressure placed upon all the universities, but Providence in this case, to provide some type of unique experience for these students so that they do become connected, and that when second semester does roll around, or God forbid, even later than that, that these kids get on campus and these individuals that they've been interacting with virtually, they're best friends. So there will be, I don't think anybody here can answer that question. And as far as we're told, school is, still planning to start in the fall. And, we're going to all hold our breath for that. So, it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. There's a couple of questions here about sports. Should we consider buying season passes for basketball games and hockey games? As a parent of a freshman, without
Absolutely,
question,
yeah.
we made the mistake of not doing that because we didn't know, candidly, if our son was going to be in the pep band or he was just going to go on his own. And it just became such a little bit of a back and forth for him trying to figure out how to get tickets because a lot of games get sold out. So if you have the opportunity,
Yeah, I would go for it.
just get them, and it forces them also to engage in a larger community setting and really start to build up that school spirit there. Have any of your children participated in one of the various semester abroad programs? If so, how would you describe the experience? Has anybody? Andy has.
So Sebastian had a Smith Fellowship to Australia for this upcoming summer, and one of his best friends did a Smith Fellowship, which is basically 8 weeks with the Dominicans somewhere in the world, doing So Sebastian wanted to teach down in Adelaide, Australia. His buddy did it out in the Solomon Islands, and it was not academic, but it was one of the best experiences he ever had. And that's what convinced Sebastian to apply for the Smith Fellowship and go there to try it. But I think it's definitely something worth doing. I think it broadens your child so much more. I mean, you heard my wife's funny accent, so we have the English side covered. But it's such a great thing for them to go and see and do something as a young adult to do it. So.
There's a question here. We've heard a lot about the different clubs and organizations. Can you tell us about your students' experience with clubs other than intramurals or sports? So I guess we can start. Again, we talked about the music department, and our son is currently in the theater department. He's performed right now so far in one great musical. The staff that worked on it and the students that participated in it were unbelievable, and they were sold out performances for 2 straight weekends.
Yes.
He plays in the orchestra and he sings in a group. There's an a cappella group, which is a separate group. He's not in that, but he does a group called E-Cantori. And if any of your students or any of your children are musically inclined, they have to actually try out for this. And it's about 20 students or so. They have to wear tuxedos when they perform, which is pretty remarkable. And it's phenomenal. Like it's kind of chilling when you listen to them sing. And the Smith Center for the Arts is down in what's considered, I guess, lower campus. And it's a beautiful, beautiful facility. I know, Andy, your son is in peer ministry, is it?
Yeah. So he's one of the peer ministers, one of the peer leaders, I guess they're peer minister leaders, and absolutely loves it. These are the things that make him the young man that we hoped he would be when he went to Providence. So he has a group of freshmen that every 2 weeks they meet together. They talk about their experiences, their faith, what they're doing through. And he's continuing to do that even now during the shutdown. He has a Zoom meeting with them every 2 weeks. And it's one of those things I think that has just changed him into, like I said, the young man that we always hoped he'd be. And that was something that he didn't really do in high school. And when he went there to Providence, he found it. He found the niche, the thing that made him a better person, and he grabbed onto it and did it. So.
Excellent. Does Providence give laptops to incoming freshmen, or do they have to buy their own? So they have to come with their own. I believe that the library and the tech department has some loaner laptops that you can use. Our son has a Mac that candidly he's had since maybe freshman year of high school and is performing, just fine. Mm-hmm. All the classrooms have Apple TV hooked up into them. So the kids go in there and immediately connect and present if they're on a Mac. And he said they sometimes also just go in these classrooms late at night just to throw Netflix on a big screen and watch that. Hope we're not getting them in trouble, but I don't know, Stacy, or your son, does he have a PC or a Mac?
He has, yeah, a MacBook Pro, and he's a business major, and it's working out just fine. The one thing he did need to do before he got there was load the Microsoft Office suite onto his MacBook Pro, but PC sends you something and tells you how to do all this stuff.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a very straightforward process for freshman students to get this stuff loaded up on their machine. And again, the tech support help is fantastic at the school. And somebody had, one of the panelists was talking about the tutoring services also. And for any parents that are interested in this, our son, so the development of Western civilization, as we brought up before, is a very, very challenging class, and covers, as you probably already know, history and philosophy, literature, and religion.
Everything.
And Aiden just had some challenges with kind of comprehending some of it. Went to the library, found a great tutor, took a couple of sessions. It's all included, and these are upperclassmen. And he said it was phenomenal. He said the student really, really just made him feel at ease. They had been in the same seat as he was when they were freshmen. And, since then, he's actually, believe it or not, started to enjoy the class a little bit. That's tough to get that answer out of some of the freshmen, but, at the end of the day, they learn a lot in this class. Andy or Peter, either of your children or kids have PCs by chance, or are they all Macs?
He's a PC. He got it as a high school graduation gift, and 3 years and a cracked screen later, it's still going strong.
Okay.
My daughters have Mac.
Okay, terrific. So it looks like we're about to wind this down. So we're going to end this with one last question for everybody here. And Peter, why don't we start with you? And the question is, it'll be the same for everybody here. If your child were still in high school, what do you wish you knew then about Providence that you know now?
If my child's in high school, what would I like? I didn't hear you well.
So if your daughters were still in high school today and they were considering Providence as a school, what do you wish you knew about PC that you now know about PC?
What do I wish to know about PC that I know? Wow, everything. It's unfortunate that right now, there are no school visits and stuff like that, because it's just a marvelous place. Once you get there, it's like, it's an amazing place. I don't know if I understand the question correctly. There's so much. Help me out with this one, because you know way more than me.
So Andy, we'll pass it on to you. Why don't you give one?
Sure. If we would, I think if Sebastian would have known both what a wonderful community it was, the friendship and everything, both amongst his peers, amongst the other students, as well as the teachers and friars, I would have saved a lot of money in college applications. We would have saved a lot of time.
Bingo.
That's something you don't know till you get there. And I hope everybody that's watching us today takes our word for it, that it is a family. The students look out for each other. They take care of each other. The teachers, the staff, the friars, everybody's there for the students. And that's what Providence is focused on. It's focused on the students. It's not focused on fundraising or anything else. It's about the students and taking care of them. I said, if he would have known that, we would have applied to Providence only.
Stacy, how about you?
I think, you as parents know the type of environment that your children thrive in, and every one of your children is going to be different. So, going in, the reason I prayed that he would love Providence was that he is the type of person that likes to know everybody. So in my head, yeah, Penn State was a beautiful campus, but I did not see him at that type of school, that size school. And I totally saw him at Providence. It did not take very many trips to that campus for me to feel that way. So I think the one thing, so I'm not really answering the question properly, but what I would say is if you know your child and you feel like this kind of family environment where they can know everyone and develop a broad base of friendships that are going to last throughout their life and have a very rigorous academic life at the same time, then just keep pushing them that way, because they're going to feel it themselves. It's just a question of when it clicks. So I just thank God for that we landed where we should land, really.
That's great. Thanks. So Meg and I are passing notes back and forth here, and I'll answer this two ways, and then we'll pass it back to Owen to close this out. But the first one is, like, we wish we completely understood the magnitude of services that the school offers for these kids, because it honestly, it's staggering, whether it be career services or, like I mentioned, the tutoring or just the one-on-one that they can get with the faculty. It's staggering, and it's really up to the students to take advantage of this and to really, just find their way. So the other thing that I would say we wish we knew about our son was we wish we knew how he has figured out how to do his own laundry and take care of his own food. I wish we knew that in high school, because we didn't, and he's figured it out. So, I'll close it off just by saying, go to all the social media profiles. If you're truly interested in PC, follow them. Just, go to the website, the virtual tour link.
Information there.
Exactly, a ton of information. Yeah. And, those videos, they're a minute long, most of them. I mean, I think Father Shanley talks for an hour and 10 minutes, but for your kids, have them watch the minute long ones and just string through them or blow through them, and you'll get a good feel for the school. So we're going to pass this off to Owen. And on behalf of all the panelists, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk to you. And we hope to see you on campus next year.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us this evening to all of our attendees. But most of all, thank you to our parents and guardians for giving up such a significant portion of your evening to share your experiences with the families of admitted students. We hope this has helped provide additional information in advance of the enrollment deadline. But if you're still weighing your options and have questions, we'd encourage you to spend some time exploring Virtual Visit Week. We'll also be offering a final academic session with the deans of the various schools at PC next Monday evening, as well as a session on global education opportunities next Wednesday. We hope you've enjoyed all the content that's been provided over the past few weeks, but if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. We may not be physically on campus and working in Harkins Hall, but we're ready and willing to assist your family. Thanks again. Have a great evening.